August 12th, 2024. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. There was no economic data today that came out to really cause the market to do, well, move more than just pretty much in a range. It was kind of a, I wouldn't say a tight range, but it was a pretty, it was like a range that was slowly narrowing, and it kind of created a wedge here. The volume wasn't very high, and there weren't very many setups that I could find. I did manage to take a trade, which is right here, and it was profitable. So I'm going to go into the setups right now. So pre-market, leading in from Friday, it was just really, really choppy. And right before the market opened, when I see this many candles in the pre-market, I could already kind of get an idea that it's not going to be a high volume day, unlike previous setups, previous days where this is a lot of volatility, a lot of candles. This big gray section is even bigger. So it opens, I create my pre-market highs and pre-market lows trading range, and then it flushed down. Just want to point out that the pre-market high and pre-market low acted like a pretty reasonable extreme, the containment range for, the overall price action today. So after the open, it starts selling off on this green channel after this consolidation. I didn't see any clean second entries. The first setup that I saw was right here. I call it an almost trade because it's a break of this green down channel. It's a first entry short, pullback. It creates a second entry short. Second entry short is a break of this green downtrend. First attempt down, second attempt down. It could be seen to try to test the lows here. The thing I didn't really like is the second entry short, which signal bar would be pretty much this big green guy. And for me to even consider the trade, I needed this trigger bar to at least have made a matching high or ticked one tick above and then flushed down like it did here. So I saw that in real time. I just didn't really like it. The stop loss would have been at the top of this guy. And this guy is already a 4.25 or like a 17 tick candle right here. So it felt risky. So I left that one alone. Goes to the bottom, creates a failed breakout of the pre-market lows, comes back, creates a first entry short pullback, second entry short. There's a second entry short. It doesn't fail till you get to about right here. And by then, I wasn't really thinking of going long just yet. Pushes up above the EMA. I'm looking for a higher low, which you get right here. Now I also call this an almost trade. Confirms the second entry short failure. First entry short, second entry short. Second entry short by then has failed. What I didn't really like is it looked like there was a potential trading range developing. In other words, it could have been a trading range that was kind of contained like this. And I thought maybe I'm at the highs of the range, even though the EMA is starting to turn. It just didn't feel super safe. And the localized high, which would be here, there's not enough room for a safe and clean scalp. So left that one alone. Moves up on this yellow up channel, tests the high of the pre-market, and it looked like it kind of fit well in this purple up channel. And that's actually where I set up my first trade or take my first trade. So the yellow up channel has broke. Just go ahead and do this. Purple up channel, yellow up channel has broke, tested a new high. It kind of looks like it's floating up this purple up channel. There's a new high here, also the high of today. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. Second entry long here looks like it's about to fail. So I'll show you what I was thinking in real time. So you do have a confirmed second entry long. Second entry long looks like it's about to fail. I like the fact that it closed very bearish, and it's the first decisive push down and below the EMA. So up until then, you see the EMA is holding prices. I mean, there was a little tick below, tick below, tick below. This is a first strong push down. The subsequent bar had trouble pushing back above the EMA and closing above. So it closed below. So I had a hunch here that it's probably enough momentum to get a quick scalp. And it's having difficulty moving. When it was in this purple up channel, it went lows to high, lows to high, lows to, and as you can see, it doesn't hit the highs. It has trouble. Almost looks like it's consolidating. Fine, there's like a last ditch effort to push up, but it doesn't quite touch the high. It's kind of like a lower high here, and then followed by a failed second entry long. So I was watching this in real time, kind of thinking this is what was going to happen. So I decided to take a trade. I entered one tick below this guy, got my 1 point scalp, and I had a runner on this trade, so I moved it from the stop up here down to not break even, but 1 point below break even. So this tick here, that's where the majority of my contracts came off. And then I moved my runner down to one tick below. And as you can see, it got taken out on the same candle. But if I was able to hold, if I was taking even more larger contracts where the profit target, or not the profit target, but the majority of the profit was already taken, and I may have considered keeping the stop loss up here for that one lonely runner, then you probably could have rode this all the way down. But I don't take that many contracts to feel comfortable doing that. Just happy that it was a scalp plus just a little, I would say kind of like a little lottery ticket, hoping that something would pay off. Other times this probably will pay off one day, but not yet. Or not this time. Prices moved down on this green down channel, made a first break of this green down channel, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. This second entry short, I think is a possible trade. It's break of the green down channel. It's doing the second attempt now. The EMA is starting to reject, like it was supporting here, it rejected. It's a decent signal bar. The only problem that I have with this signal bar, it is 17 ticks, so it's 4.25 points. So rather large. I wanted to wait for maybe a lower high, and then you get this lower high that comes up. So if a new low, first entry short, second entry short pushes up, I'm watching this carefully. And I'm thinking this is a decent signal bar. It's only 8 ticks, well within the risk tolerance. I was getting my order ready. It opens here, flushes up 1 tick, then immediately drops. So then that's where I drag my order from up here, put it at the highs, at the lows of this candle, because I wanted to tick up, do exactly what it did here, pick me up and then flush down. Unfortunately, when I did that, this had already moved my profit target, and I knew I just kind of abandoned the trade at the point because the scalp has already been made. And unfortunately, I missed this trade. I thought this was a pretty decent setup though. Then prices continue moving. It looks like it's having trouble at this resistance. You do have a new high, first entry long. There's a second entry long here, but I'm not that keen on this doji. Plus, it just looks like very, very congested here. It could easily continue back down. It might float back up, but the EMA isn't giving you much clue in real time when you first see this as a potential second entry long. Then the confirmed second entry long, it's just too close to the highs now. The prices move up in this orange, nothing, no trade I could see. This next setup that I see is it breaks of this orange up channel, flushes down, it hits this consolidation area. It looks like it's one touch, two touch. This looks like it's pushing, potentially pushing back up to create a second leg here. But then I also saw this as technically I counted this as a localized new low because there's a new low here and then it matches it. So this is the new low. First entry short, pullback. Potential second entry short. There's a triple test and a potential fail breakout. I like this setup in that it had 1 tick above and then flushed down pretty strongly. I just wasn't fast enough to see it and trust it because technically if this is in a trading range, second entry shorts or second entries don't matter as much, but this was a decent triple test and a fail breakout. Looks like it tried to move up and it failed. So this was a possible trade. I just unfortunately didn't take it though. And there was enough room if you took it from here, even 1 tick below, to scalp out before you hit the bottom. Flushes down and then comes back and sets up a second time. It's a new low, first entry short, second entry short. Again, in a trading range, second entries don't matter as much, but still, if you have something extra going for you for a trade, that's awesome. Now, this is a multiple test, so it looks like clearly it's hitting resistance. It's in a trading range. The thing I didn't really like about this, and I called it an almost trade, is previously, this had a very strong close like this one. It's moving sideways. What I didn't like is this guy was the highest high at this point. I mean, there's higher than this, but localized. It created a new high and it failed. On this setup, it's not quite the same because it creates a new high on the previous bar. On top of that, this becomes an inside bar. So I'm not 100% sure if this is one leg up, pull back, potentially a second leg up because it hadn't quite made the measured move. It's just fallen short. So is there a possibility that it could, you know, push up again and continue upwards? I'm not 100% sure, so I called it an almost trade. Also, since the EMA isn't helping, having an inside bar just didn't feel safe. Turns out it works and it flushes down though. Goes down on this orange down channel. I don't see any clean second entries. You do have a new low here. First entry short, second entry short, second entry short failure, but previously before the second entry short failure, You had a bunch of candles here that are really congested, could be seen as maybe a really tight trading range. And I just really couldn't quite tell what the bias or what direction it was going to go. Because is this a possible overshoot and then it's going to push back here? Or was my channel actually something like this and it's actually going to test the lows? So wasn't sure, had to leave it alone. This is something interesting that I saw. It's a new high, say first entry long, pullback, second entry long, also a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. So what is it saying? Unfortunately, for the first entry long, second entry long, it's a good signal bar for the second entry long, but it's below the EMA. EMA is flattening though, came from an overshoot. You could argue it made a corresponding overshoot, so maybe it wants to test the high here. Maybe, maybe not, I'm not sure. It's a new low, first entry short right here, and then pullback. It's about to create a second entry short. The second entry short isn't a good signal bar either, so there are bad signal bars on both sides, but it's something I recognize in real time. And I was just thinking, if only these candles had been like a different color, it might have been a trade. And I'm thinking, in this case, if this is a red candle, it'd be first entry long, second entry long off a red signal bar. And I'm thinking maybe short because it's about to fail, and it fails here. New low, first entry short, second entry short. If this was a red candle, in other words, both of these, then I would have been more biased to go short. Unfortunately, none of that really sets up, so kind of left it alone. Prices move down on this red down channel. Now, I just want to point out this price action here gets very, very slow. Candles are taking a couple minutes to close, so it kind of makes me more cautious that, from time to time, some news item might come out and whip things up or down. So when prices are this slow, it just has to be even more bulletproof. And as you can see, it wasn't really quite bulletproof because it was just a big trading range with the candles side by side, inching and crawling both up and down. So no setups there. And unfortunately, it kind of goes into the close. So from here to here, this is 2 hours of trading from right here all the way over to here. It's not very many candles, and on the bigger scheme of things, you can kind of see this is the last 2 hours from here to here. And during the first 2 hours from 6:30 to 8:30 Pacific Standard, look how much more candles there are. Just kind of something I always usually do for myself to kind of get an idea of volume volatility. It helps visually picture it for me. When I see something like this in the beginning for 2 hours of trading, and then at the end of the day, starting at 11 o'clock right here, you can tell like right here was 2 hours. And this puny amount is telling me, okay, don't push for anything. Just be glad you got your one trade. This is 2 hours and an equivalent 2 hours. All the price action, all the easier stuff has been found here. If you didn't find it now, don't, especially at this time of day when it was getting to like 11:30 Pacific Standard and 12 p.m. Pacific Standard, I was seeing all the price action before. It was just a good indication to just calm down, just do something else, or don't be hunting as hard, especially off a day that I'm already green. So kind of a mental thing that I do for myself. It does help, hopefully. Hopefully this was helpful.